Welcome back students, welcome to Priya's Life Science Academy. I hope you understood the previous lecture. Welcome to the next part, which is niche differentiation and resource partitioning. This topic will be very much important for those who are preparing for CSIR NET Life Science, okay, state eligibility test, UPSC syllabus, and those who are in bachelor's or master's degree. So let's start with niche differentiation and resource partitioning. In the previous class, we ended up the class with the competitive exclusion. So we have to avoid that competitive exclusion. There cannot be extinction of one species. So a niche must be differentiated, okay? So the term niche differentiation synonymous with niche segregation or niche separation or niche partitioning as it applies to the field of ecology refers to the process by which natural selection drives competing species into different patterns of resource use of different niches, okay? So for example, I want to give you the previous example that you and your sister, for example, you both love that chicken leg piece, but one of will eat, the stronger one will eat and the weaker one will not eat. So otherwise what will happen? Will the weaker one starve or die? No. There will be another option, that is resource partitioning or niche differentiation. You will shift to another kind of food, okay, so that you can survive. That's the case of niche differentiation or resource partitioning. Natural selection will make the species in a type that will be able, that will help them to utilize a different kinds of niche. The process allows two species to partition certain resources so that one species does not outcompete the other species as dictated by the competitive exclusion principle. We don't want extinction. One species will not extinct other species. Thus, coexistence is obtained through the differentiation of their realized ecological niche. So we need more realized ecological niche. If two niches are similar, we need to partition the niches in order to avoid extinction. If complete competitors drive one another to local extinction, how efficient do two species have to be coexist, and in what features do they usually differ? So the previous question, I told you that Paramecium cordatum and Paramecium aurelia both couldn't coexisted. Paramecium cordatum got extinct. So what will happen next? To address this question, Robert MacArthur, please note his name, he is a very, very important figure in the fields of ecology. During 1958, what he did, he examined coexistence between 5 species of warblers feeding with spruce trees in New England. So he noticed the 5 different species of warblers, the bird, all belonged to the genus Dendroica and were members of the same feeding guild, so one might expect these closely related bird species to compete strongly. So we think that they are from the same genus but the different species, and as they are the warblers birds, they might compete strongly. What MacArthur noticed that here you can see in the picture that 5 species of the warbler bird, they occupied the different heights and different positions of the tree. So what does it mean? They partitioned their resource. So as a result, their foraging habits differed, and they thrive on different kinds of insects by sitting on different heights of the trees. So among 5 species of warblers feeding in North American spruce trees, each warbler species refers to feed at a different height and portion of the tree, thus reducing competition. So this is the way of reducing competition by partitioning your resource, okay? These Cape May warbler tend to remain on the outside of the tree, okay? Here the fly Cape May warbler, it tend to remain on the outside of the trees and it attack more flying insects than this Blackburnian warbler. So it gives it a better advantage. It doesn't need to compete with these other species. So it actually reflects coexistence. It results coexistence. So this is how species can coexist with each other by resource partitioning, by partitioning their resource. So here you can see that organism must compromise, like yellow bird inhabits upper tree region, red bird inhabits middle boughs of tree, blue bird inhabits trunk and lower branches. So Fundamental niche is all tree, but you have to specify it to your realized niche. That is the specific elevations, at which height, which point you should thrive for insects or any kinds of other food. So as a whole, the term resource partitioning refers to the differentiation of niches in both space and time, which enables similar species to coexist in a community. Okay, similar species means not same species. The genus is same, the species is different, but they're kind of similar species. That's why they thrive on the same tree, but they partitioned their tree. That's why their their niches got diverged and they can coexist. Now here you can see in very detail. It is the Black-Borneo warbler. This is the black-throated green warbler, Cape May warbler, bay-breasted warbler, yellow-ramped warbler. They all have partitioned their niches for the coexistence. What I can say you for this slide finally, that you can question that how the resource is partitioned, because natural selection have a force on them that their beak sizes changes, and according to the morphological change of their beak size, they rely on different kinds of grain, different kinds of insects. Okay, so it's a natural selection which actually enables the birds to thrive on different kinds of food to avoid the competitive exclusion. Now, types of niche differentiation, that is the resource partitioning. Here, two species can partition their resource based on their morphological differences or behavioral differences. If your behavior and morphology is differentiated, your resource get partitioned. Temporal partitioning. Temporal means according to time. Like when two types of species, they thrive on similar niches but at different times. So there is no point of tug of war or competition. I am fond of this food, you are also fond of this food, and there is ample of that food. I am coming at the morning time, you are coming at the night time. So there will be no war. That is temporal partitioning. Spatial partitioning is of space when two species, they occupy the same resource by occupying within the range of occurrence of that resource. That is spatial partitioning. Like I am partitioned of the spaces, like you will eat from this place, I will eat from that place. That is spatial partitioning. And morphological differentiation. Here, two competing species have different morphological features to allow them to use the resource in different ways. For example, there is a link between the bumblebee's proboscis length and the flower corolla length. If the length of the bumblebee's proboscis is longer, then they will thrive for the longer corolla length flower. Medium proboscis length bumblebees will thrive on medium sized flower. Smaller proboscis length bees will thrive on the smaller corolla length flowers. So by these, the same species of bumblebee can partition their resource and can avoid competition. Conditional differentiation is based on the environmental changes. Like for example, two species, one species can better compete in a certain environmental condition than other species, and other species may compete better in another environmental condition for a specific type of resource. So by this way they can coexist. So conditional differentiation is based on environmental condition. Okay. Now, because of these resource partitioning and morphological changes, there will be some character displacement. So, the result of this competitive exclusion is the resource partitioning, and because of the resource partitioning, the process by which resource partitioning is taking place is by character displacement. If your characters, if your morphologies are not displaced, if it's not changed, then how will you thrive on different kinds of resource? How will you avoid competition? So comes the character displacement, the tendency for two species to diverge in morphology and thus resource use because of competition is called character displacement. You can see this in Galapagos finches. A study done by David Lack in 1947, where he observed the Galapagos finches discovered by Charles Darwin, where he saw that the three species of finches, that is Geospazia fortis, Geospazia magnirostrus and Geospazia fuliginosa, these three species have diverged their beak size, okay, because of having different kinds of seeds. Geospazia fuliginosa have smaller beak length which help it to crack the small seeds. Geospazia fortis have a larger beak length which helps it to crack the large seeds. So the bill shape and size is different to minimize competition. Here you can see that two closely related species have overlapping ranges, in the parts of ranges where one species occurs alone, the populations of that species are similar to that other areas, other species, and may even be very difficult to distinguish from it. In the area of overlap, when the two species occur together, the populations are more divergent and easily distinguished, that is, displace one another in one or more characters. The characters involved can be morphological, ecological, behavioral, or physiological. They are assumed to be genetically based. So because of this competition, there is the divergence of characters, divergence of morphological characters, divergence of behavioral characters, divergence of physiological characters. That is why they can partition the niche to avoid competition. So the cause was competition and the effect was resource partitioning. And how the resource is partitioned, in the middle there is character displacement. If my character is not displaced, if my big size is not changed, how I can partition my resource? So the process is character displacement. And there is a very important point that when I'll teach you when I teach you evolution, I'll teach you that allopatric species and sympatric species, but for this time I'll tell you that when the species are together in the same land, they are much more different than each other. Like for example, Geosphasia fortis with Geosphasia fuliginosa, they are much more different when they are in the same land, but when they occur in a different land, that like with Geosphasia fortis and Geosphasia fuliginosa, they are much more similar, because when they are in different land, there is no point of competition, and because there is no point of competition, there is no point of changing their features. But when they are coming together in the same land, these two species need to change their morphological features in order to avoid competition. Okay, here you can see these three species changing their bill depth. So what we can say in summary, competition occurs frequently in nature and involves several different competitive mechanisms. Competition over the same limited resource can lead to extinction of one of the species occupying the same niche, I told you. However, species may coexist if their niche overlap is reduced through resource partitioning or character displacement. So, species may compete. It's a natural tendency when their resource gets overlapped. But if there is a resource partitioning, and if you change your features through character displacement, you can partition your resource and can avoid competition. This is the main funda of this lecture. Okay, I hope you understood the concepts very clearly. If you missed any, you can comment always below. I'll be very happy to help you. And as I always say, fight for your dreams will fight for you. I'll be back with more interesting ecology lectures very soon. Thank you, students.